Hey everybody, what's going on? We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome to the channel. It looks like something is going on, and if you just settle your energy as you go through it, it's going to definitely work out well for you. We're starting off with the Hierophant. With the Hierophant, our beliefs and values come into question or become the topic of discussion. And there may be something here that you're trying to understand. Looks like there's an expansion that's happening. When we have the Hierophant and we have the Hanged Man, what this means is that there can be things that you saw as being very solid, things that were connected with your belief systems, beliefs within your system of beliefs. And to have the Hanged Man, it means that there's an expansion and there's a growing happening. So this can mean that, like, you maybe at one point in time subscribed to a particular, like, school of thought with your beliefs, and now you may be, like, breaking out of that or expanding, or you feel like you're seeing things that you weren't seeing before. The Hierophant can also, it doesn't have to be like a religious thing, although it can be. It can also be having to do with anything. It can have to do with how you perceive education. It can have to do with how you perceive your background, how you perceive culture, how you perceive, like, your own culture, other people's cultures. There can be things where you feel like you're learning and you're growing, and before you could have felt like something was... Hierophant is about, like, these very traditional, sometimes even, like, stuffy values that we have that can be very conventional, which there's nothing wrong with that. But having the Hanged Man here says, like, I don't necessarily believe these things anymore, or now these things are in question, or I used to really go by this, like, this was the rule that I lived by, like, this was my code, and now through spiritual growth that's happening, or through some type of catalytic event, which is also going to coincide with spiritual growth, those things are changing, and I'm sort of, like, unraveling this tightly wound box that I had put myself in. So it's something like that, where there's, like, an expanding outside. And with the Hierophant, it can be like, if you call yourself this, then you believe in this. And to have a Hanged Man, it's like the unraveling of that thing, but it's to grow and to expand in, like, a more like spiritually enlightened way of understanding, like, the collective unity of things. So it becomes then less about labels and things that at this point you may be beginning to perceive as arbitrary or not relevant or not resonating with you anymore. And there's a new type of development that's happening as you're evolving. So you can feel like some, spiritual growth that's happening directly connected with your past belief system. We're calling it past because I'm seeing you be in, like, a period of transition where this may be something that you're expanding out of. This can also be too, like, I didn't believe in these things before, and now I'm starting to believe in this other stuff, and how does that work together? And so it's sort of like working your way out of something where, like, with the Hierophant, that's fixed earth energy. So that is, like, the most traditional, we've always been doing things like this, that type of energy, where to have Neptune here, it's about, like, dissolving those walls. There's something that you're connecting with that's inspiring this. Wow. That's a beautiful catalyst, a pleasant catalyst as far as catalysts go. This is changing your understanding of past things as well, it seems. past perceptions. Some of you, this is about religion, like your perspective shifting about that. But it can also be like family traditions and stuff and whatnot. Someone from your past is coming through. They're connected with this in some way. You're familiar with this person. It seems like they're offering you something. Can be like a different perspective, even that sort of thing. But you would feel inspired through connection. Like sometimes we experience a catalyst where it can feel like really painful or jolting in some way or jarring, or it can feel like getting like ripped from one place into another place. To have the catalyst for this be the Ace of Cups, this is like through love and through connection, I feel like I'm expanding, like through something that feels intimate, or through something that feels safe, like that type of thing. So this is like a more gentle dissolving that's happening, rather than feeling like the rug getting pulled out from underneath you. So as far as, again, like catalysts go, this is something that would feel more gentle, but it's again putting into question like these old beliefs that you've had, that you feel like you're growing out of now, like expanding out of, because this isn't regressive. This is like I'm progressing in a spiritual way, because Neptune is a spiritual energy. So it means that there's an evolving. And some of you, this is actually happening. This can mean too, like your thoughts on marriage or your thoughts on commitment are changing. It's like those types of values that we have that are connected with like how we're living our lives and what we care about and what holds value. Some of you, this is about like a past flame that's coming through, that's bringing this up for you. Some of you, this was just like somebody that you cared about, that you may still care about, that's impacting this in some way. It's like somebody that you care for, somebody that you're close with, or you feel a sense of knowing and understanding with this person. They may be things are being clarified. Things are being clarified about your past. It's like making sense of things, realizing things. You could have also had ideas of what you were trying to do before, and that's also changing as well now. It's like because your belief systems are going through a bit of a transformation, we'll say, currently. It means also that like certain intentions that you had that were assigned to those things, those are also changing as well. So you could have been like thinking that you wanted one thing before, and now that's changing into something else, but it could have been something that you really thought you wanted. Like, let's just use an example. Let's say that before this started happening, you really wanted to get married, and that was something that you'd always wanted, and you thought it was like the be all end all, like the most important thing, that was like a hardcore value of yours, and you were like, I don't care what happens when I'm an adult, the only thing that I need to make sure happens is me getting married. Again, just an example to show what's going on energetically. But now, as you're going through this, something is happening that's shedding light on your like upbringing, even what has shaped certain things for you, and also I don't know if like dissolution would be the proper word, because it's not like this is just dissolving and you're going backwards. This is more like what's not relevant anymore is falling away, and it's shedding light on things that you may not have understood before, that now you see in a different light, and now you're seeing in a different light. And so because this is happening, before it was like, my intention is that I'm going to get married, and that's all that matters to me. I just want to be married. Again, just an example. But now that this thing is happening, it's changing and shaping the way that you're perceiving things. And also, there's like the dissolving of this intention now. So before this thing that you may have been like, this is the be all end all, it's like that intention is now dissolving, falling away. And so you could feel like that's opening something up for you within your life, actually. Because it's like before it was your mission to manifest that within your life. But now the magician is also going through like a spiritual awakening essentially. And is like, maybe that's not the be all end all. Maybe that's not what I want at all. So it's like that sort of thing that's happening here, where it's like, feels like you were very dead set on something, or like, this is the way it ought to be, like that sort of thing. And this is the way that I'm going to make my life, and this is my life's mission. And now this is changing. So it's like, well, what do I create now? Or what do I manifest now? Now that that's not the mission that I'm on, like what happens now? What do we do? And I think that you're at this part where there's like an opening up that's happening, where you're like, what do I fill in this space with? Like what goes there now? It's like you're an artist. And that can be like why you're feeling pain right now too, where it's like all of my dreams about this like crashing and coming to an end when I built all of these fantasies about this, or like I had this thing and I thought I wanted it and now I don't want it anymore, like that type of thing. It's like the artist with a muse, very focused on a particular muse, and then the muse is no longer inspiring. And so it's like that interim space where the shifting is occurring and the evolving is occurring, finding like that new source of inspiration. But it feels like right now you're in that in between that feels very comfortable, where it's like life is aimless now because I don't have this thing, because you're like trying to find your next muse essentially. You're trying to find your next intention. You're trying to settle into what you understand and what shapes your reality now and what you believe in now. And so that's sort of the process. So feeling uncomfortable, feeling a bit lost right now, feeling like you don't know what's what, would make a lot of sense. It would be very reflective of what's going on energetically, and there's nothing wrong with that. So don't think that because something is going on and you feel a lack of clarity that you're not on track. You're very much on track here. This can, like, something that's coming to mind too is that, like, with the Hierophant, it can really be like any types of beliefs too. So this can be about religion, spirituality, traditions. It can be like, what else is there? Really, I mean, so many things are connected with our belief systems, but it feels like a breaking out of whatever it could have been like what you grew up in, but it can also be like something that you developed as an adult that now you're like, well, that doesn't fit me either anymore, like that type of thing. Like it can be gender identity, sexuality, cultural beliefs, stuff that's tied in with life purpose, education, our bigger life goals, what we also feel like our purpose is as well, because Hierophant is connected with that too. It's like, why am I here, and what is my mission, and what am I supposed to be doing, and what do I think about that, and what do I believe about that, and what am I supposed to create within my life based off of that. So now that you don't have this sort of like set of rules anymore that you feel like are obsolete, they're becoming obsolete for you. It's not your thing anymore. It's like you feel like you've grown out of it, like you've evolved, and this thing is something that you shed, even though it feels quite uncomfortable. Because you can even look back at this and be like, maybe it was rigid, but at least I had some sort of purpose. So you can also be at a point where you feel like you're mourning over this thing that you can't fit back into anymore because you've just expanded too far to be able to fit back in that. And you're in that space of like figuring out, where am I connecting now? But as I said before about like how this all came about, it feels like it came about through something that your heart was connected to. So it doesn't feel like one of those moments where it's like a tower and everything gets pulled out from underneath you. This feels like I'm connecting, and I feel like I'm so connected with my heart space that now I'm expanding and I'm seeing things I wasn't seeing before. And stuff that I believed before and thought that was it, I'm recognizing that I'm growing beyond that and outside of that, and that like I'm becoming more inclusive. There's like a lot of stuff that's happening as you move through this. So you're just in a period of transition. So it's normal to feel all of the feelings that are associated with transition. You can even be like going through stages of grief as you're transitioning, and you can know that like you're growing and that this is a beautiful thing. And there can also be pain associated with letting go of old chapters as well, and stuff that before you thought you were going to manifest those things, and now you're not going to because you don't want to anymore, or that's not really your goal anymore. So it's like all of these things that are happening currently. That's also the vibe too. Like we have Magician and we have the Hanged Man here. So I'm seeing there's something going on with Mercury and Neptune. Mercury is like what's going on up here, what's going on mentally, what are you thinking, what's going on with your processing. And to have Neptune here, Neptune can be like speaking a different language to you, and you're like trying to understand what that means. Neptune is very foggy, it's very confusing, it's very like what's going on right now. So like this logical part of your brain that's like, I'm trying to have real thoughts here that are making sense to me, and Neptune is like making whale sounds at you, and you're like, I can't decipher what that means. So you're sort of like in this space right now where there's like a decoding that's happening, but I'm seeing you be in like a very confusing part of this currently. And so you may be feeling thrown off by that, but as I said before, you're like right on track. You just can't see that because you can't see the track, because Neptune is creating fog around you. But once the fog clears, you're going to realize that you're exactly on track. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and that you didn't get off track either. Yeah. All just reflective. We have the Death card. There's a transition that you're in the midst of currently. And this means like a changing of intention and a changing of thinking. Before, my intention was to manifest this, this, and this. Before, this was my muse and I was painting that. And now it's like, well, that's not my muse anymore. Like this thing is changing now. I don't paint those things anymore. So it's like, who am I and what do I paint now? Like, what do I think, what do I believe, and how do I make my life reflective of that? But you're like in the process of figuring out what that is. So you're not going to see something mirrored back at you yet because you don't know what this is. There are steps to the development of this. This does feel like a return of some sort, which is interesting as well. Like something may be feeling oddly nostalgic to you about the sentiments that you're connecting with, what you feel drawn to. And some of you may be going back to your roots in some way, or back to childhood or something like that. I'm hearing sweet. I'm also hearing recovery too. So we have Taurus and we have Scorpio here, and we have Mercury and also Neptune. Yeah. Okay, so this thing that's coming to an end, this transition that you're in the midst of, this thing that you're no longer creating, where you're trying to find the next thing that you're going to be creating, like the next sense of purpose. The reason why you're going through this transition is because something isn't working for you anymore. As I said before, the thing about the artist, it's like, this was my muse, this is what I love to paint. and now the inspiration is gone, and so now I have to find my next muse. Now I have to find my next inspiration. So you're in that in between currently, like the liminal space. You may feel pretty protective of yourself while you're in this in between as well. Because it seems too like you're accomplishing something that's connected. It's something that you're connected to in an unseen way. It's a felt way, but it's an unseen way. Like you see it, but it's just you. Like it's something that's part of your internal world. And there's an accomplishment that's connected with you connecting with your higher self too, and understanding the communication. Another thing too that you could be working through and figuring out, so you're in the process, right, of transitioning. You could also be trying to figure out things from your past, like maybe I don't believe this anymore, but maybe I do believe that. Or maybe this doesn't make sense for me, but this does. So it's sort of that thing of feeling around in the dark and trying to make sense of stuff. But some of you are also like making sense of stuff from your past. Like you could be bringing stuff up that's connected like with your history throughout this lifetime. And there's like something that you're processing through, something that you're figuring out, something that you're even like revisiting, could be. But this can be stuff that isn't like immediately coming to the front for you, so you feel like you have to dig for it a bit. And this can feel too like feeling around in the dark in relation to this process where you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to feel it out here. I think there's also a part of you that feels like certain things have come up that have felt unexpected. Like this can be something where you're like, I really didn't think that this was the type of path I was gonna walk down. I'm still feeling like unsure about some stuff. I'm feeling like a lack of direction at times. Trying to figure out how to do this in a balanced way, how to continue growing and expanding, how to check in and listen to my intuition, how to close out what needs to be closed out, how to stop fighting myself, how to move forward. And how to move forward confidently towards the things that you want and pursue those things with passion and like a bold type of energy, like fierce. But not in a way that, it's in a way that's intuitively connected. So there's also a merging that's happening too, that has to do with like what you want and what you feel, and doing so in a way where when you're actually tuned in, those things won't conflict with one another. And that's basically what's being figured out right now. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to, you don't need to take too much on. Just slow it down a little bit when you start feeling overwhelmed. Because some of you, you're like, I don't even know where to start, and there's like too much going on. You may be like just putting too much weight on your shoulders, and you can break it down, maybe not take on so much. Just slow it down a little bit, especially when you hit the more rough patches. Just like wind it back. Okay, we are going to end the reading here at 2444. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I am sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.